Well, good evening, everybody. Mike with Woods, Water, and Wisdom here, coming to you again, bringing you another video. Today is Wednesday, and so what I want to do is just kind of follow up on the video that I posted yesterday about don't fear. I'd been meditating on that a little bit more and talking to the Holy Spirit about it today as I've gone through my day, and then had one of my good friends was texting me, and he said, man, that video, I really liked it, and it ministered to me, and I was like excited about that. And so I had been meditating and thinking about it already a little bit more, particularly after I made the video last night. And so I thought I would go into it a little bit more and talk about that. Don't fear. We don't have to fear. We don't have to allow the enemy to bring fear into our life. And one thing I was thinking about along that line, and I'm going to start here with Psalms chapter 34, verses 4 through 6. And it says, I sought the Lord, and this is out of the Amplified because, I like to read it out of the Amplified. So it says, I sought the Lord on the authority of his word, and he answered me. And he delivered me from all my fears. They looked to him and were radiant. Their faces will never blush in shame or confusion. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and saved him from all his troubles. Psalms 34, 4 through 6. And so it says right here, I sought the Lord on the authority of his word, and he answered me and delivered me from all of my fears. So the thing that I was thinking earlier is I was thinking, we can't stop the emotion of fear from coming. And sometimes it's the spirit of fear, and sometimes it's just our emotion. Because you can startle and panic, and that's one thing. But when that fear comes, that dread, we can't always stop it from coming, but we don't have to allow it to stay. It doesn't have the right to stay. This says, I sought the Lord on the authority of his word, and he answered me. It's always the word. The word is where we get our authority. Jesus is the word. And it's where we get our authority to have and do and operate as Christ followers, as believers. Not doubters, but believers. And so we have the authority of his word. And with the authority of his word, we can reject the fear that does come. I'm not saying that we can constantly, without a shadow of a doubt, stop fear was coming. Another place, David said, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of fear, I will fear no evil. I heard a guy say one time, the shadow of a dog never bit anybody. And that took me a second to think about it and figure it out. But, a dog bites somebody. The dog's shadow doesn't. I laugh. You see these little videos where the kids are walking around, and usually they're like 2.5, 3, not really walking hadn't been walking all that long. And then they discover their shadow. And they start running, and the shadow's chasing them, and they can't figure out, what's going on. Well, David said that. He said, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. So he says, I'm walking through the valley of the shadow of death. And one thing that the Lord spoke to me, he says, for there to be a shadow cast, like right here, you can see, if I do this, you might be able to see a shadow being cast, like there, but that means there's a light right up above me to make that shadow. It has to be a light source. And so David's saying there, I'm walking through the valley of the shadow of death. He's not saying I'm walking through the valley of death. He's saying, I'm walking through the valley of the shadow of death. And I won't fear any evil. Why? Because death can't harm you. God is the source of light. That means that God is in between David and the valley, and that whatever's casting that shadow upon him. God's the light source. He's the one. And so if he's with us, then we don't have to fear. That doesn't mean that the temptation to fear doesn't come. That doesn't mean the emotions and the feelings of fear don't come. That means we just simply reject them. And I'm going to go back over here to where we were last night in Matthew chapter 14. And we talked a little bit about this last night. And I want to continue on a little bit with what we started to talk about last night. And it says in verse... let me go back. Here we'll start in verse 25, 14:25. And in the fourth watch of the night, between 3 and 6 a.m., Jesus came to them walking on the sea. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified and said, "It is a ghost." And they cried out in fear. See, that fear came. But then this is Jesus' answer to that fear. He says, immediately. Back over here to Psalms 34. And the Lord, I sought the Lord on the authority of his word, and he answered me. Immediately he spoke out, saying, "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." Jesus, the word, spoke immediately. When he saw the fear, immediately came against the fear. Said, "Take courage, it's I, don't be afraid. Fear go, it's me. Peace come." And Peter replied to him, I love Peter. I can so identify with Peter. I love Peter, man. He says, "Lord, if it is really you, command me to come on the water." Now what is the Lord going to say to him? It is him. "Oh, no, Peter, I'm God, you worm of a no good man. You know, how dare you even think you can attempt this? I'm God." That's not what he said. He said, "Come on, come." And so, Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But when he saw the effects of the wind, he was frightened, and he began to sink, and he cried out, "Lord, save me." Now let me ask you this. When have you ever been around the water? Let's say you're by the pool. And when have you ever stepped out into the pool and began to sink? That's pretty fast. I've never been standing beside the pool in the 5-foot section and just step out there and begin to sink. So we know that he has to be right there to Jesus. This is what's baffling to me. It's like he's right at Jesus, and in my mind, I think maybe he got to Jesus and then he turned to go to the boat, and now he's looking between Jesus here and Peter here, and now he's looking at the boat and he's seeing the wind and the waves, because his focus had been on Jesus. When he was walking to Jesus, I think maybe he got to Jesus and turned around, and now he's no longer focusing on Jesus. He's looking back towards the boat and the wind and the waves, and he began to sink. I think he just stumbled for just a moment, and the Lord just reached out and grabbed him. But when he saw the effects of the wind, he was frightened and began to sink and cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately, I love the actions of Jesus. Immediately, Jesus extended his hand and caught him. Just whoop! Just that quick, just a whoop. He was right there. He was right there. He grabbed him. He got him. Peter didn't sink. I see a picture of this. Peter's way underwater, like reaching up towards Jesus, and his fingertips are barely the tip of the water. You think Jesus let him do that? No. He started to, and Jesus and grabbed him. That's the way Jesus is. I know. He's not way under the water and Jesus bending down, fixing to have to dive down under the water to get him. No, he immediately grabbed him. Peter didn't sink. Immediately, Jesus extended his hand and caught him, saying to him, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" Meaning he didn't have to doubt. He didn't have to. He didn't have to doubt. And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased. And the thing is people give Peter a hard time about doubting. It's because he didn't have to. But you know what? None of the other 11 got out of the boat. I've yet to get out of the boat and walk on the water. I don't know if who else do you know was walking on the water besides Peter? Peter's got the story. Go ahead. Let me walk on the water, and then and if I doubt, you can say, "Oh, you of little faith." I got the water walking part down. He's the only one that stepped out of the boat and went to Jesus. I love that about Peter. He was always just bold and straightforward. Anyway, he called out to the Lord. I mean, two things here. He said, "Have me to come, Lord." And both times, fear was there. Both times. When they cried out in fear, Jesus immediately spoke and said, "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." And then right here, when Peter saw the effects of the winds and was frightened, he began to sink and cried out, "Lord, save me." Now, if you're standing on the water, do you think you would have time enough to even get... this sounds like it took a long time, like Peter just began to sink, like it's some big barge or something. No. It's just immediately, as soon as the first little doubt and fear came in his heart, he immediately cried out, and the Lord reached out and grabbed him. "Oh, you of little faith, why did you doubt?" Because he didn't have to. He was already with Jesus walking on the water. Only one who did it. The other 11 were in the boat. So if Peter had little faith, what did they have? No faith? Obviously no faith, because they didn't step out of the boat. So anyway, I was thinking about that today and meditating on it. Man, I got amped up about it. We don't have to fear. We don't have to doubt. It comes, but we don't have to accept that package. Return to sender. Boom. Gone. I'm not going to have it. I'm not going to accept it. I don't want it. Nope. Don't want it. Don't have to fear. Don't have to doubt. Trust in God. Believe in Him. Lean upon Him. Rely upon Him. Put my faith and trust in Him. I can't doubt. I can't fear. I can't fail. I'm going over. I'm an overcomer. I'm a believer, not a doubter. I'm an overcomer, not an undergoer. Yeah. Well, anyway, I hope you got something out of this. I hope you enjoyed it. Give us a thumbs up and give us a like, thumbs up. And leave a comment down below, and we'll talk to you soon. God bless.